Welcome to a new video, portrait of, on our KOV channel. We are meeting up with a rather young fella who has an experienced taste, Mr.A, half avocado vintage watches, and we're about to fly out to Milan. Today I'm wearing a Santos Carré model, Omani crest on the dial, also known as the Kanjar emblem, and I think it fits perfectly with my belt. I'll see you in Italy. I think the weather's beautiful. It's a nice occasion for a quick stroll in Milan. Let's go. I'll follow you, sir. Sure. I hope you have a fucking car though. So this is the place also where you get your watches?
Look, there's a little guy who has the usual catch of the day here, so sometimes finds me a little Nautilus here and there.
I love carciofi. So first let's get some carciofi.
Let's get some carciofi. Hey.
No, but seriously, where do you get most of your watches?
In all seriousness, every place, every watch has its own story and place I find them. We live in a beautiful internet world that has a lot of opportunities to find stuff, but I guess still most of my watches come directly from people that I know. And
also locally?
Of course, Milan in Italy has been a huge base of watch collecting over the last 50 years. We could say collecting really was born in Italy as a way of appreciating timepieces and everything, especially wristwatches, less so on the pocket watch side.
Because you collect both wristwatches and pocket watches.
Yes, exactly.
I find it rather peculiar for a young gentleman like you to collect these things, because the first time we were meeting up in Amsterdam, you brought like a bag of 20 pocket watches.
Sure, I feel like pocket watches offer unparalleled beauty when it comes to dimension and case construction and dials, because the larger the space, the more you can experiment with details and small quirky things that really get me excited. So I think for me, having seen a lot of wristwatches in my life, I just gravitated towards pocket watches as a means to also expand my passion in the field of timepiece collecting.
But from a commercial point of view, it doesn't make much sense, does it?
Today, I'm also anticipating a possible future trend, and I think not always in life you make choices based on commercial side, but it's also like a question of what excites you and makes you happy. Because
that's what I wanted to ask. Do you describe yourself more as a collector or a dealer?
Look, I'm 100% a lover of watches in all forms and everything. I've had the privilege to deal watches as a profession now, more than a sole passion, but that is also all purely aimed towards finding the most special pieces so that I can also grow as a collector in the meantime. Because
did you start out collecting watches and then just thought, okay, I need to sell a couple? Or were you first a dealer and then decided to keep some for yourself?
100% started off as a collector, and I still totally collect today.
Yeah.
But the beautiful part of the job for me is that I can collect watches and sometimes sell them. It's a lot of buying watches, understand what I really like, what really excites me over the years. Because also as my tastes change, some pieces I feel like, okay, I don't need to own this anymore. I've had this, I've worn this, I've enjoyed this, I've understood this piece, this design and everything. And then it just grows out of me and I feel attracted to something else. And I guess my collection ultimately becomes like a little description of my tastes, how they've evolved over time, and that's for me the most interesting part, to see me grow alongside my collection. And
so you also brought a couple watches, right?
Of course.
Let's grab some lunch and have a look at some pieces, yeah?
For sure, let's go.
So we just had a beautiful lunch.
Lunch.
What's for dessert, bro? You brought some goodies?
Brought a few cakes, yeah. Tiramisu and stuff.
Let's see.
All right, here we go. Pretty eclectic mix.
Let's start first of all, which are for sale, so I can take them out first.
None.
I think this Octagonale Santos is a good match for me.
This is a special one for you. Had to bring a Cartier. This is a recent find. Fell in love with the...
What are your thoughts on Cartier?
Big fan, obviously. Definitely it's a brand that's gotten a lot of attention over the last year or so. Understandably so, because they made some exceptional watches. Big history behind, lots of cool, quirky designs that I'm a huge fan of. And so, yeah, I must admit, like, big fan.
Cool. I see a lot of gold. Do you wear gold often?
Love gold. I think gold is one of the most important materials to like wear. Just also for health.
1803 has to be in your collection.
This I brought especially for you because it's no ordinary 1803, but it's a special one, as you can read inside the bracelet.
Ah, it's a Japan bracelet.
So it's a Japan bracelet and head and everything. No loom dial. So it's like a standard 1803, like full gold, but it has this quirky little detail, which is something that I think makes sense.
If I see this collection, what do you focus on aesthetically? Because I think it's exactly as you put it, it's pretty eclectic.
Yeah.
But what do these pieces have in common and why do they belong in a box for your collection?
So each piece, first of all, has a very distinct look, aesthetic, a cool story behind. And I guess the most interesting part for me is like it's something that you cannot find easily in the market.
Yeah.
It's not a question about price, it's not a question about value, it's not a question about, it's just like go and try to find that and you won't be able to.
Because they're all pretty uncommon.
Pretty unique
As
in,
I already
in their own
announced,
way.
you have a specific taste,
Yeah.
something that is maybe beyond your age bracket. It's a little bit more experienced taste, let's put it like that. The only really contemporary piece that I can see is the Overseas.
Salmon Dial.
Has a lot of influences, of course, from this, what is it, 1831?
Well, this is the mid-size, which I think
automatic, yeah.
is more,
Mid-size.
much more wearable. The jumbo is huge. But to be honest, this to me is like a 3800 Nautilus, just a slightly different take and rounded dial, and Kenjar on the dial.
So we have
also
two
cool.
Kenjars today.
Exactly.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Not a lot of complicated watches. I see a Retrograde by Gerald Genta.
Yeah, this is a cool one. I thought I'd just, reference Genta because it's a designer I've obviously gravitated towards a lot over the years. And this is a pretty unique one. I thought it would match well with this. I'm a huge fan of yellow as a color. And this is the only one I found, this like mustard Dijon. And this is a pre-series.
It's dope with the red text.
Yeah, dating to 95. And this is he made a small batch of these with the tritium dial still. And then they all moved to Luminova. So I've been collecting a few of these with the tritium dial. It's like a really like nobody cares detail, but like for me makes sense, and they're all in a similar serial batch and everything, so it's something quite interesting to
very nice example, and I love the contemporary kind of date. It's
Absolutely.
even futuristic, it's not even contemporary.
Yeah. I think here like you can really compare this almost to a car, the way it like sits and just looks. It's like this toy almost of a design, but yeah.
Talking about a toy of a design.
This is
what do we have here, man?
This
and
is
why, especially why do we have it here?
Yeah, this is one of the, let's say, first important watches that I bought myself years ago. This is a Urwerk 102 with the number 13 ever made. Piece that I found in LA from Stephen Halleck, shout out, great guy. And to me, this epitomizes the like vintage of independence, which is really important period for me, like the 90s. I call them retro independence because they're, really the beginning of like modern watchmaking as we understand it today. And it's this piece to me just is is really comparable to a piece of like, you know, modern art, contemporary art.
Yeah.
Like you could see this in a gallery and be amazed by it. I know very well the guys from Urwerk, and it's really a piece that like over the years I've just fallen in love with more and more.
Truly mechanical art.
Yeah.
I recently sold my first Urwerk. I would never think I would say this, but my first Urwerk got sold.
Which one was it?
103.
Okay, cool one.
So I just sold that one in pink gold. Pretty cool piece. Something out of the ordinary. And I think this is really a hallmark for your style, in my belief.
Absolutely.
A very cool, contemporary lookish.
Yeah.
With a two-tone dial, Gallet chronograph from the like 40s.
This is from 1945. There's about 5 or 6 known black dial first generation Truman Gallets, and this is the only known engraved for the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Dope.
Only known military one. It's called the Truman because Truman actually owned one, which is now in a museum, but they remade the dial. And this was like a bunch of brevets on this. It was like the first waterproof chronograph, the first chronograph with a bezel, and a bunch of like really interesting details. And I think in terms of like, you know, you have all the cities of the world here, and you know, at the time, like for example, this still has Calcutta and not Mumbai anymore. Like really historically, this is something on another level.
Super piece.
And to me aesthetically, it's perfect design. You ready? This is a special one.
Wow! No way!
Rolex.
Wow!
This is a cool one. This
Dude,
is really
the dial
is the most beautiful Rolex dial ever made, and the crown on the back.
Now I know why you like pocket watches.
Yeah, really.
Where
Nice.
did you find this, man?
This at auction a few weeks ago.
So good.
Paid up for it, huh?
So nice.
There was like a guy in the room. We were both like fiercely bidding for it, and then I looked at him. I was like, "Please let me have it." And he was like, he bid one more, and then I was like, "Come on, I'm not leaving this." He's like, "Okay, have it." And then he came to me after he gave me his number. He was like, "Look, I own an auction house. I would have bought this for my own collection, but seeing a young guy bid, I'd rather you have it and enjoy it." And I was like,
That is dope.
"Yeah, so it's a cool."
Because I guess in a pocket watch game, the average age is like 60. Yeah. Can I open this with my nail? The finishing of the movement, swan neck
Impeccable.
regulator, very cool.
And dial is
Beautiful dial.
flawless, as they would say on a diamond. Feel that?
And then it disappears like this.
Exactly, poof.
Last but not least, I think this is a staple for Mr.A.
Exactly.
We will come back to this watch later on. Is that fine?
I would love to.
First, let's grab one more Peroni.
Yes, let's go.
Thank you for showing that, man.
Hey, cheers.
So, boss, it's romantic, but where did you take us?
All right, so Jasper, since it's a beautiful place, I was thinking of asking you a question this time. Tell us about your first time when you lost your virginity.
You son of a bitch. When did you lose your watch virginity? What was the first watch you bought?
So first real watch I bought online was a eBay find actually. Shitty Stoa diver's watch. I was about 13, 14 years old. It was on eBay. I think I bid like €7.5, something like this. And you know, it arrived home and like unpacked it, was super excited. I still have that watch, kept it as a memory.
Always keep it.
Yeah. So that was my first watch. And then I guess my first proper watch would be a Universal Genève.
You still have that one too?
I still have that piece too.
Is that one of the brands that unfortunately isn't recognized enough?
OQG holds a very important part in my heart. It has definitely been the brand that has allowed me to understand watches as I do today, because they really created a plethora of amazing pieces and case designs and a lot of stuff. And today, of course, they don't exist anymore as a brand. They're owned by the Stellux Group, which is a Hong Kong holdings company.
Which is funny because they still do repairs and they still do like extracts of the archives.
Yeah, so I'm in touch with the guys who work there. They're quite passionate people, but they're very limited by the company themselves. And there's been a lot of talks from, smaller equity funds trying to buy the brand and everything, but it's never been quite brought together. But hopefully one day, if that ever happens, would love to.
Because I know your love for Universal Genève. I cannot know for sure if this is classified information, but you gave me a booklet with some Polerouters you got yourself, and even some poetry about Universal Genève.
Yeah, there was a project I had on Polerouters, and made a small 36 limited edition books only for friends and family, which you are one of now.
So you're really the watch Casanova, eh?
I tried.
Taking other watch dealers to such romantic places. I feel so special. Or do you go here with everybody?
With only my most favorite girls. No, but talking about Casanova, we have a beautiful statue of Canova, which is an Italian sculpturist from the 18th, 19th century. And what I love most about the statue is this man is holding a little globe, and on this globe is a fairy. And I feel like it's one of the most beautiful details on such a statue. So this idea of the beauty on the world and holding something so beautiful and precious in your hand. And I think as an Italian growing up surrounded by culture and, historical importance, I feel gravitated a lot towards watches because sometimes I get pieces and I really feel like I'm holding something, beautiful, created by humans, for humans, like technically advanced, but at the same time, extremely meticulous in its details and processes. And that is something that for me has shaped a lot my understanding and appreciation of watches. It's always seen them as like small sculptures.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Therefore, you also prefer the pocket watches, because the thing with pocket watches, I love them. I love to look at them. But in the end, since I can't really wear them, they're not so practical. Then again, it's also hard to show off. Otherwise, you have to be like, oh, look at this, look at this.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit far-fetched for most people nowadays, but you think that will come back again?
Look, for me, pocket watches are just the concept of ownership. Like I own them, I have them.
It's like a vintage NFT.
Yeah, I can look, exactly. I can look at them. I have them stored away. Like sometimes I'll just take them out and look at them and marvel at these creations. And sure, they're not super practical, and I wouldn't almost want to wear one around because I'm very careful with my pieces. I have a lot of respect for them. But at the same time, they're really powerful in the hand.
Thanks for showing me, man.
My absolute
really cool.
pleasure.
Where's your statue?
Right there.
There it is. The one with the tiny dick.
Yeah, it's covered.
So we got a bit sidetracked yesterday.
Yeah, Peroni's hit just right.
Don't forget about the limoncello and of course the beautiful grappa.
Obviously.
And it's so good to be hungover and be at a graveyard. What a great idea it is.
Great start to the morning.
At least it is
Fresh
very,
air.
very impressive.
Exactly.
Fresh air and a lot of dead people. So maybe it's a good time to walk around a bit.
Let's go.
Okay, so we cleared our heads a bit. I'm seriously inspired by the incredible occasion. It is breathtaking, but I promise the viewers to have a look at one more watch, which is very significant to your being, I believe.
Exactly, yes. It's a little philosophical take on the whole idea of timekeeping and my approach to collecting as well. I created this Polerouter during COVID period. It was pretty dark moment for everyone, I believe, and for me in particular was kind of tough, struggling with a lot of stuff. I was just, opening my company, a lot of stuff going on, and I just decided to take away the hands on the piece, the hour and minute hand, and just leave the seconds hand and focus on the immediate. Because we always have this idea of looking at our past or our future and not focusing sometimes on the now. And so this piece for me is just a memento vivi, like you are here right now, enjoy it, this moment, this second by second. and it was just an important moment for me to just have this as a constant beating reminder.
Thank you for sharing that, man. Wow.
Pleasure.
No,
Almost-
incredible in-depth
Hey,
video.
Don't cry.
Wow.
Keep those in.
No, really appreciate it.
Hey,
Wow,
my
thank you so
absolute pleasure.
much. Let's go for techie.
Let's go for exactly
at the
quick
church.
coffee.
It was an honor to end another season of KOV. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm happy to end it with Mr. A, better known as my good friend Alessandro. Thank you so much.
Jasper, the queen of vintage. You've been an amazing host to have you in Milan. Bless you. Thank you for coming, and see you very soon.
Ciao, guys.
Ciao.
Why the queen of vintage? Bro?
'Cause
Why you
it's
phone me like
fantastic.
that? We have Mr. Anus. Mr. Anus.